everyone who's with us this afternoon. Dr. Judkins, do we have, it looks like it. There we go. It looks like we have a quorum this evening. So we are going to begin this meeting. So good evening, everyone. I'm Ronald McFadden. I have the humble pleasure of serving as chair of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners for the sake of each and every one of our children and for our city. And I would like to welcome you all to the February 13th public board meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. I also want to make sure before we move on, before I call the meeting officially, do we have the CEO or the CEO's designee with us?
We do, yes.
Thank you, thank you. If you have not done so yet, please mute your phone or your device. Anyone who does not mute their phone or their device may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the meeting. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. That helps us to stay focused. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Board members, please simply identify yourself before speaking for the record. We'll only do that once, and then the other roll calls will just be as normal. Vice Chair Roberts.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Commissioner Coy, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Esposito.
Esposito, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Muhammad.
Muhammad, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Lawson.
Commissioner Lawson, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Reed, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Sally.
Commissioner Sally, present.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Commissioner Slater Harrington, present.
Good evening, and I am present. We are all present. That means the full board is here. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
So moved, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Is there a second?
Kent Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'll take that as a second. All in favor, Commissioner Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously. Is there? That was it. So is John Page with us?
Yes.
John Page, where are you?
I'm here. I'm on the call with my mom.
Okay, no worries. So board members, colleagues, and members of the public, as we are in February in honor of Black History Month, we are going to open this evening's meeting with a rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem, as performed by John Page, a senior at the Baltimore School for the Arts.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
What an incredible way to start this meeting. Thank you, John, for that very brilliantly performing Lift Every Voice and Sing. Thank you so much for that presentation. Very proud of you and the work that you're doing, not just at BSA, but we know that you've been presented with the National Young Arts Award. So we're looking forward to seeing you in person at our next meeting as well, so that you can continue this momentum. We also want to recognize your mom, your mother, Ms. Robin Page, who is a music teacher, a fine arts teacher here in Baltimore City Schools. And if
Western High School.
I knew it was coming, at Western High School. And so we want to shout you out too, because certainly we know that our children are as strong as the village that stands behind them and with them. So thank you for being a supportive mom, a supportive educator, and committed to the city of Baltimore. Thank you both. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session minutes?
So moved, Robert.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts.
Robert Chess.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes. Sorry, I have a lag.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay, yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That passes unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved, Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts.
Robert Chess.
Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay, yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
Yes.
And I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously. Now I want to turn it over to Commissioner Coy, who will read our moment of silence for this evening.
I would like to take the time to recognize the passing of city school employees. These individuals were committed to supporting our students through their work. The greater City Schools community will fondly remember these employees. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their family and friends. It is with deep regret we inform you of the passing of Leslie Sterer. Ms. Sterer started her career with City Schools on August 31st, 1994, where she served the staff and students for 29 years and 4 months at Violetville Elementary Middle as teacher secondary. Ms. Sterer unfortunately departed on December 29, 2023, and will be missed by her family, friends, and City Schools. It is with deep regret we inform you of the passing of Tanya Crowder. Ms. Crowder started her career with City Schools on August 29, 2001, where she served the staff and students for 22 years and 5 months at Winston Middle Achievement Academy at Harbor City High, Robert Poole Middle High Academy for College and Career Exploration, Northwood Elementary, and lastly, Reginald F. Lewis High School as a food service worker. Ms. Crowder unfortunately departed on January 7, 2024, and will be missed by her family, friends, and City Schools. It is with deep regret we inform you of the passing of Rhonda Schenk. Ms. Schenk started her career with City Schools on January 2, 1997, where she served the staff and students for 27 years and 1 month at C&I Elementary School's Office of Early Childhood, Long-Range Compliance Plan, Special Education as an Assistant, Non-Instructional 12-month employee. She also served as a special education paraeducator at George W.F. McMecken Middle High, itinerant special education staff, and Edgewood Elementary. Ms. Schneck unfortunately departed on February 3, 2024, and will be missed by her family, friends, and City Schools. I would like to take this opportunity to also recognize the passing of City Schools students. Each of these individuals were a part of our school communities. They will be remembered fondly by the greater City Schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their family and friends. Libriel Payne was a student at Patterson High School. He was a quiet student with an unforgettable smile. He was loved by many and will be greatly missed by his family, friends, and our school community. Sharon O'Neill was a first grade scholar at James McHenry School, number 10. He started James McHenry in pre-kindergarten. Sharon was a carefree spirit who lit up the dance floor and told magical tales. His big, bright eyes and smile would brighten the room. He loved being a part of our Springboard after-school program. He loved Sonic the Hedgehog and played Roblox. Sharon will forever be in our hearts. Sharon is forever an eagle, soar high. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Coy. It's never an easy thing to do, to highlight members of our communities that we've lost. So thank you for that. And again, condolences to all families of all those that we've lost. Board acknowledges a donation of $25,000 from New Hope Adventist Church to help support families through the Community Schools program. The board acknowledges a donation of $28,000 from Inspired Consumer for educational student activity sheets. And so now for a few remarks that I have. I will be brief, but it is important that we highlight a few things that are happening in City Schools. And so thank you all again for joining us this evening during this virtual meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. Today's meeting is virtual, not because of the weather although that's good timing. We are changing how we record and stream our meetings. Part of that transition requires us to hold tonight's board meeting virtually. And so we will return to our hybrid format on February 22nd. So that means folks will be able to participate both in person and via Microsoft Teams. Since February is also dedicated not just to Black history, but to love, we are showing some love to our career and technical education, or CTE programs. It is CTE month, and City Schools is highlighting this crucial program in our school district. This month, we are featuring a few of those programs in a video series you can watch on our YouTube channel. We kicked off the month-long series with a look at Mervo's electrical construction program, and this week features Patterson High School's EMT program. A link to the videos is also posted on the district website, which is baltimorecityschools.org. We're also going to highlight another very significant celebration this evening. The celebration of City Schools continues as we also have the 2024 High School Maryland School Counselor of the Year. Can we give a round of applause that staff member, that counselor is right here in City Schools?
Woo, woo, woo.
Very excited that the Maryland School Counselor Association surprised Miss Rhonda Waller with the honor last week during the National School Counseling Week. Ms. Waller has been a counselor at Benjamin Franklin High School at Masonville Cove for 13 years and has served City School students for more than 24 years. In her remarks, Ms. Waller shared the following: every day is a new slate. Someone's not muted. I want to make sure we give proper honor to Ms. Waller. Ms. Waller's words again were, every day is a new slate. Everything we do, say, or not matters to the students that we serve. You don't know how much a smile or saying good morning can change a student's mind, body, and soul. Our reward is never money or accolades, but it's a random encounter with the former student who remembers you and tells you how you helped them years ago. Mrs. Waller is now in the running to represent Maryland for the National School Counselor of the Year Award. And Ms. Waller, we are rooting for you. You've got the whole village of Baltimore City behind you, and we're praying and hoping that you go all the way. For the sake of our children, for the sake of our city, thank you so much, Ms. Waller, for all that you do. We are also still celebrating the unveiling of our new fully electric yellow school buses. That's a big deal. Thanks to a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, City Schools, and partner Highland Electric Fleets cut the ribbon on our buses last month. It was a cold morning, but Commissioner Esposito can attest to that as she braved the cold January morning, how great of an experience it was, even though it was cold outside. Our hearts remain warm, though, knowing the health benefits we are providing for some of our most vulnerable students with respiratory illnesses, as well as money that will be saved by the reduction in purchasing diesel fuel. There's also a video about this event that features our students on our YouTube channel. So if you have not gone to the City Schools YouTube channel, do that. There's a breadth of information there and a lot of highlights there that's important for our community to see and be aware of. We are keeping the praise flowing with another award. City Schools has been selected as a 2024 Magna Award Silver winner in the over 20,000 enrollment category for our 21st Century Buildings program. This is an award given by the National School Board Association, and thanks to our vice chair for making sure that this program was highlighted. It has taken a significant amount of work for us to engage in this 21st Century Buildings program. And as the vice chair will mention, we are the only urban school district that has been able to renovate and build nearly 30 schools within 10 years. And so this is a huge deal for Baltimore City, not just our school system, but for our city, for our state. As several legislators participated in this work, as several stakeholders participated in this work. Thank you to Dr. Santelises, staff, Dr. Watt, all of the team, all city schools, former board members who made this a reality for our young people, knowing that we have more work to do. All right, we have more work to do, and we have more advocacy to do in making sure that Baltimore receives its due, knowing that we have the oldest portfolio of schools in this state. And so we need to continue advocating for our young people, for our communities. But right now, we're taking a moment to celebrate the progress that has happened in this Magna Award celebration recognition. Out of multiple jurisdictions, out of several applications, hundreds of folks wanting to receive a Magna Award, Baltimore was one that came out on top. And we're certainly happy to be able to take a moment to celebrate that Magna Award. Vice Chair, would you like to highlight anything as it relates to the Magna Award?
No, I think you said it all. I'm just so excited for us. We needed this as a system. We needed this as a city and as a team. I think this is just one accolade to the many wins that we see, have the honor and privilege of seeing often, but we're just now on a national stage. I just want to say kudos to all the many, many hands that made this effortless. And I'm going to continue to say this. This is one of one. We are the only urban school system that have built this number of schools over the last 10 years. And it was no easy feat, but it absolutely was in the best interest of our students, of our young people. And so I'm so excited to celebrate this win with the system and our many partners.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you to the city school staff, right, who continue to do work with our buildings and our portfolio in our city. Thank you all for the work that you're still putting in to maintain these structures, right? And so just, it's a good feel moment. So thanks to everyone for putting in work to make sure that outcomes for our students are improved and that we're leaving city schools better than the way that we all inherited it. And finally, please mark your calendars for our Student Board Forum, which will be held on March 6th at the Reach Partnership School. We're very excited about this. This is our continued outreach to our young people to learn about their interests and their concerns and to give them an opportunity to ask questions directly to the board and to engage in advocacy. We will provide details as we get closer to the event, but please make sure that you mark your calendars now for March 6th at the Reach Partnership School. Is there a motion to approve the PEP and quasi-judicial matters?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Bay. Is there a second?
Second, Slater Harrington.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington? Commissioner Slater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes unanimously with members who are able to vote on that PEP agenda. We'll now turn it over to Dr. Sonia Santelises, our CEO, for CEO comments. Good evening again, Dr. Santelises.
Good evening, Chair McFadden, Board of Commissioners, Baltimore City Public Schools. It is good to be here with you this evening, even though we are in the virtual space tonight. We are pleased to have a PEP agenda this evening as we enter in what is our kind of prime season for principal appointments. It is my pleasure to bring Chief Emily Nielsen forward, to ask her to come forward for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, board commissioners. I see we already have one PEP person on, but if you are on the call tonight, please turn on your camera so that we can congratulate you when I read your name. And on tonight's PEP agenda from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, an appointment recommended that Lakeisha Venson-Hall, currently teacher elementary at Commodore John Rogers Elementary Middle, be appointed Educational Specialist 2 Discipline Compliance Investigations effective February 24th, 2024. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, recommended that Brittany Horn, currently interim principal at Western High School, be appointed principal at Western High School effective February 14th, 2024. Congratulations, Principal Horn. We'll see you on. Recommended that Tiffany Williams, currently interim principal at Collington Square Elementary Middle, be appointed principal at Collington Square Elementary Middle effective February 14th, 2024. Congratulations, Principal Williams. See you on as well. And on our CEO notification from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, an appointment, Jacqueline Giddens, currently Senior Associate at Insight Education Group, be appointed Special Assistant to the Chief Academic Officer effective February 1st, 2024. And an interim appointment, Denise Mabry, currently Director, Compliance and Due Process, be appointed Interim Executive Director of Special Education and Student Support Services effective February 14th, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Congratulations. And two more interims from the Office of the Chief of Schools. Stacy Place-Jose, currently Deputy Chief of Schools, be appointed Interim Chief of Schools effective February 14th, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Congratulations, Dr. Place-Jose. And Susan Wheeler, currently Manager, Student and School Operations, be appointed Interim ILED Elementary and Middle School Leadership effective February 14th, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. Congratulations to everyone on tonight's PEP.
Thank you, Chief Nielsen. And as has become our custom, I'm going to ask Principals Horn and Williams to come back on just while I read a brief blurb about them. I call it a blurb, a little bit about their background. Brittany Horn is currently, now officially, the principal at Western High School. Prior to Western, she was assistant principal at the Academy for College and Career Exploration, ACE, here in Baltimore City. She also worked at Roland Park Elementary Middle School as an equity support teacher. Ms. Horn holds a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and a Master of Arts in Teaching, both earned at the College of New Jersey. She is also a Fulbright Hays Scholar and has traveled to the African continent representing the United States. Congratulations, Principal Horn. Next, Tiffany Williams is a graduate of City Schools and is currently now the principal at Collington Square Elementary Middle School. In her 21-year tenure with City Schools, she has served as a special educator, IEP team associate, special education department lead, assistant principal, and principal. Ms. Williams began her career in special education at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, then went on to Johns Hopkins University to pursue a master's degree in school counseling. Congratulations, Principal Williams and Principal Horn. We're thrilled to count you now officially among our school leaders. Thank you. I would also this evening, yes, thank you, Commissioner Muhammad, for that applause. I would also like to continue an evening of congratulations for Dr. Taisha Swinton-Buck, who is Instructional Leadership Executive Director, ILED for CLN 8 in our schools office, for being named one of the Baltimore Banner's Emerging Leaders of 2024. Whoop, whoop. Yay. I can't get to my dial to get a good GIF out there, but I'm shouting here, Dr. Swinton-Buck. The Emerging Leaders Program recognizes the next generation of community leaders and the impact they are making across Baltimore. Dr. Swinton Buck was chosen by a selection committee composed of Baltimore Banner reporters and editors, along with business and community leaders, for her dedication to bettering the lives of Baltimoreans. And I just have to say, I concur. Nobody asked me, Dr. Swinton Buck, so that you know, but I want you to know I concur wholeheartedly with their decision. So we'd love to have you just speak briefly. And thank you so much for representing Baltimore City with excellence.
Thank you so much, Dr. S. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful to the Board of Commissioners and you, Dr. Santelises, for acknowledging this award. The encouragement and support that I've gotten from City Schools is humbling. And so this award is just a testament to the work that I do for the children and the families in Baltimore City. And I'm so grateful for my colleagues and supporters who have contributed to my growth and invested in me. And so I just thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yay, congratulations again, Dr. Swinton Buck. Now, as we continue to speak of service, I am reporting now that John Davis, many of you know, has departed as Chief of Schools as of last Friday, after years of truly heartfelt service to the schools, staff, and young people of City Schools. Chief Davis has dedicated much of his career to City Schools, working as a teacher at the former West Baltimore Middle School. He and our very own Chief High Cupboard first taught together there, and later at Mount Royal Elementary Middle School. After a period of leadership with the District of Columbia Public Schools, Chief Davis returned to Baltimore as Chief of Schools, where he also served as Interim Chief Academic Officer until 2021, bearing an incredible workload with professionalism, despite the challenges we faced during the early phases of the pandemic and the development of virtual learning. When I had the opportunity to thank Chief Davis in person during our principals meeting a couple of weeks back, one of the things I said then, and I will say now, is I do not think we would have made it through the pandemic nearly as well as we did without Chief Davis. So thank you, John. We appreciate you. We wish Chief Davis and his family well, just with all of the thanks for your leadership and just continued dedication to the community of Baltimore City and staff and children. And as formally mentioned in tonight's PEP, Dr. Stacy Place-Jose, our deputy. I'm not quite sure, I think someone's unmuted. Great, thank you. And as mentioned earlier in tonight's PEP, Dr. Stacy Place-Jose, Deputy Chief of Schools, is currently serving as Interim Chief of Schools. We welcome Dr. Place-Jose. She has a long track record here in City Schools. Chief Davis was very confident in her leadership, and I might say that she has been attending her first cabinet retreat this week, and I am proud to say that she has taken it on like she has always been there. So we are thrilled to have her. Thank you, Interim Chief Dr. Place-Jose. We're thrilled, and again, heartfelt thank you to Chief John Davis.
Dr. Santelises?
Yes, sir.
Just so that we're clear of the pronunciation of Dr. Tose's name. Is it hyphenated, Dr. Tose? Is it Place-Jose, or is it just?
It is Place-Jose.
Okay. Just want to make sure that.
I thought it was Place-Jose. Stacy, tell me if I'm wrong. I've been calling you Place-Jose all this time, so tell me if I'm wrong.
Place-Jose.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair. I would next like to invite Chief Academic Officer Joan Dabrowski to present a brief update on our accomplishments and expansion plans for the arts, our Fine Arts Strategic Plan 2.0. Over the past 5 years, we have made significant progress in broadening fine arts instruction in city schools, and we have plans to continue that expansion over the next 5 years. Thank you very much. I will now turn it over to Dr. Dabrowski and the team for this evening's presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santelises, and good evening, Board of Commissioners. It's a privilege and thrill to be here to be lifting up some collective work that has been, again, something to be super proud of here, the Fine Arts Strategic Plan 2.0. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jalima Alisea, who's the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, and she, alongside our Director of Fine Arts, will walk us through. She will introduce our colleague, and I'll have Jalima take it from here.
Thank you, Chief Dabrowski. Good evening, Board Commissioners and members of Baltimore City Schools and the community. My name is Jalima Alisea. I am the Executive Director in the Office of Teaching and Learning, and I am so proud to be here with you tonight to be able to present where we're going with this incredible work. As Chief Dabrowski shared, we are going to be going over the updates to the Fine Arts Strategic Plan 2.0. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so just a little bit of an overview of where we've been. We will go over that. We'll also talk about some of the key accomplishments, as well as give you some updates around the Fine Arts Strategic Plan 2.0. This aligns to our board priorities. It aligns to board priority 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. So just a little bit about where we've been and where we're going. So the Fine Arts Strategic Plan, we started in 2012 with the Any Given Child initiative, and that moved us through 2013 to 2016, really looking at the Baltimore Arts Education Coalition. In 2019, there was an NEA grant that we had the opportunity to receive, which led us to 2018, where we really developed the initial Fine Arts Strategic Plan at the onset. The goal there was to strengthen the fine arts programming within city schools. In 2019, we were able to add 50 new additional teachers to our Baltimore City community in fine arts. This was part of the 2018 plan, strategic plan, just to ensure that we were able to continue to build out opportunities for fine arts teachers to come into the district. And then in 2023, we had our first benchmark where that ended the first cycle of our original fine arts plan that was developed in 2018. And we're really excited to say that our team, in collaboration with fine arts community partners, have been working tirelessly over the last few months to really develop our path moving forward for the next iteration of the fine arts plan that'll take us to 2029. So we have specific priorities that were identified in the Fine Arts Strategic Plan. The priorities, and when I introduce my colleague, Ms. Hafiz Slayton, she'll go over some of the priorities that are aligned to 2018, but the priorities, or the goals I should say, the priorities are going to remain the same. So really excited to be able to maintain the priorities that we originally started out in 2018 with in the original Fine Arts Plan. Some of those priorities, highlighting those, implementing, priority 1, implementing the arts as core subject. Priority 2, really ensuring consistency in fine arts curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Priority 3 focuses on integration of fine arts throughout our curriculum. Looking at priority 4, ensuring access to fine arts programming through in and out of school partnerships. Priority 4 is really focused on system-wide arts initiatives, professional development, and curriculum. Priority 6 is looking at adequate and sustainable funding for fine arts programming. And priority 7 is focused on building the infrastructure to be able to track and analyze data as that relates to instruction, programming, and partnerships. So before I turn it over to Director Hafiz Slayton, I do just want to acknowledge all of our fine arts community members, advocates, and partners who were really instrumental in not only the first iteration of the plan, but absolutely instrumental in the implementation of that plan, as well as the development of the Fine Arts 2.0 plan. So I know we have a lot of those community members on the call today. So just really want to congratulate them on their accomplishments and thank them for their partnership and advocacy in this work. And so with that, I'm really proud to be able to turn it over to our new Director of Fine Arts, Ms. Dia Hafiz Slayton.
Good evening. Thank you, Jelena, for that. As she stated, there are several of those important stakeholders on the call this evening. After collaborating with stakeholders such as parents, community arts partners, and staff, we were intentional about aligning this new iteration to our equity policy framework as well. And these priorities will anchor the work that we'll be doing. We were also intentional about separating the goals into 2 parts. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this mentions the community partners and the stakeholders that we partnered with for this new iteration. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I stated, we made sure that we were intentional about separating the goals into 2 parts, and that's the instructional goals and curriculum goals. That would help us, allow us to be more specific about our work and refine our approach for the next 5 years. So this slide shows a summary of the instructional goals. For example, making sure that all pre-K through 5 students are enrolled in visual art and general music classes. Also recruiting 10% more fine arts teachers for each discipline. Next slide, please. Thank you. And the curriculum support goals. Continuing to provide opportunities for schools to showcase students' instruction, the great work that teachers are doing with our students. Thank you. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, we are very intentional about aligning our work with our equity policy and disrupting and eliminating systemic inequities that some of our students are facing in the buildings. Also building capacity for equity-based teaching and leading. Next slide, please. Jelena?
Yep. Thank you. And so as Dia shared, some of the updates to the Fine Arts Strategic Plan and making sure that we have goals that align to instruction and curriculum, also that the goals are measurable. And it was really important for not only us, but our fine arts advocates to have very clear alignment to City Schools equity policy. So we're really excited for the opportunities that this new 2.0 plan will be able to support us in ensuring really high quality fine arts programming for our young people, as well as access to fine arts programming for all. And so where we are headed, we had the opportunity to share the fine arts plan with the Executive Council. We are presenting this to you today. Moving forward, our incredible advocacy and advisory committee, that will be, the fine arts plan will be shared, as well as in our community partner meeting. And then looking forward to next year, we'll have another opportunity for a town hall meeting. If you weren't able to attend our town hall meeting this past year, it was incredible. So I highly recommend that you attend it moving forward. We have incredible opportunities to not only hear about the work that has been happening in relation to our fine arts plan, but we had an incredible opportunity to hear and see the talents of all of our young people. And during that time, we will have space to be able to provide updates on the state of the Fine Arts Plan. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to myself or Ms. Hafiz Slayton. And again, I do want to sincerely acknowledge and thank all of those members of our fine arts community, our advocates who have been incredibly instrumental in getting us to this point and will be incredibly instrumental in moving us forward. So thank you again. We couldn't have done any of this without you. So thank you so much.
Well, I just want to thank you all for the fabulous work. Thank all of our advocates, many of whom I can see the comments from in our chat. And one of the things I think I am proudest about in city schools is the way that we have collectively partnered with our community to expand arts opportunities, deepen those arts opportunities, and make sure that they are of high quality. So the arts are essential in building whole children, and both the board and staff have really walked this walk continuously, and it is progress that we should be proud of. So I want to thank all of you. I see some hands. Do we have board members who have questions or comments? I can't see Chair McFadden.
Yes, there's Commissioner Bay. I see him. I just also want to say thank you, right, to the work of the city schools team, but certainly to the city schools team that has expanded, right? Our fine arts team that has expanded, as we know that this is a priority for our children and for our system. It's important to make sure that we have the staff and the capacity internally to support that work. In addition to all of the partners, there are several names that clearly we recognize that are with us this evening, because it takes a village to do this work, right? As Dr. Santelises just mentioned. So thank you for your continued partnership, right? Your continued advocacy. It does not stop with this plan, but the plan has to be actualized through mobilization and consistent efforts, not just internally, but as a community. So I just want to lift that. And then there are also some comments that we're seeing about posting this plan. I'm almost certain that the plan is going to be posted on the website in addition to board docs, but I think the better place for it will be on the city schools website so that it is accessible to all members of our community. And Dr. Santelises, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay had his hand up.
Yes, pardon me. First of all, this has been a fabulous work that you've done here. I've often said that the arts are the keys to civilization, you know, and so therefore you are forwarding those keys into the future. I'm going to cause a little disruption here because I do want to see the faces of all those advocates that I saw earlier. Just pop the camera on real quick and let me see it. And also, one other thing. A lot of times the generals, thank you. A lot of times the generals go through and, you know, but there are people who slog in the trenches to make things happen. And one person I really want to highlight for her work over the years is Ms. Janelle Howard, because she has pulled this through from her first step into the school system. And I do want to give her kudos for the work that she has done in forming a lot of these partnerships and building a lot of these relationships and moving this forward. So Chanel, right on. And thank you so much. From an artist to an artist, hey, thanks. Peace.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Much appreciated. And again, thanks to the team, everyone here, as was noted earlier, Chanel, but just everybody and all the advocates. Truly, Baltimore is a city that cares about its young people and cares about the arts. Thank you all. Much appreciated. And then finally, this evening, very briefly, I did want to very directly address some of the commentary, some of the just malicious wording and descriptors, not just of our school system, but of our children that were leaked in a local paper. And just to say this, that many principals know, because I have shared this with them previously, that I actually believe in the power of words. And I believe in the power of the intent and the state of the heart behind words. It is one of the reasons why we have a practice, a tradition in our family where we have the elders of the community actually bless children. So my 3 daughters, 2 to 3 times a year minimally, at key events, holidays, actually receive what we refer to as a generational blessing, where their grandparents and great aunts and members of the community, great uncles, their granddads, abuelas, actually come around them, pray for them, and declare life around them. Actually speak to the potential that is in them. And they have grown up with this kind of belief being articulated regularly. And it is part of what supports them when they are down, when they question themselves, now that they're teenagers, when they were trying out new things, when they were only toddlers. And I believe that one of the things that older generations have the power to do is to give young people a sense that they are valued and they have potential. I have had the pleasure of actually at 2 graduations at NAF and Achievement Academy last year of being able to carry this tradition within the role of city schools, because I think it has power and I think it has meaning. And I do not think our young people hear enough that even though life is hard, even though they are not perfect and the adults in the city around them are not perfect, they are worthy of our investment and they are worthy of our time. And they are not what many say that they are. And so with that, I feel the need within the role of CEO as educator-in-chief within this city, in the role, not as Sonia, but in the role that I sit. I think it is important that our young people hear not what someone says on a recording in a back room, but who can hear and understand what the power of who they are is. And so I, this evening, would like to end CEO comments with passing on and sharing this gift from our family that started with a couple of schools, but that I think is more than appropriate now in the face of, frankly, malicious word curses that others would speak over our children. And I cancel the words of poverty, welfare state inheritance, racial strife, and worthlessness. I am here to declare, young people of Baltimore City, that you are worthy and you are called. You are called not to violence, but to peacemaking and ethical, principled, and impactful leadership. You are called to bring forth witty inventions, creative inspirations in pen, art, and performance. You are called to bring your mathematical and scientific insights to bless others. You are called to display an excellence of character and commitment to family and community that too many adults have failed in modeling for you. I declare that every voice or word that calls you outside of this great purpose is a lie, whether from the voice of a peer, a family member, or a misguided media mogul. You are gems brimming with potential, and that potential will be fulfilled. That ends my comments this evening. Back to you, Chair McFadden.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises, and thank you for that affirmation of our young people. Thank you very much. Let's just sit with that for a moment. As it is our obligation to keep our young people lifted. Thank you for that, Dr. Santelises. I will now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, please let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question, your thoughts, or staff. Item 9.01, gift and donations, New Hope Adventist Church. Item 9.02, gifts and donations, Inspired Consumer. Item 9.03, Policy DJA, Procurement Authority, the second reader. Vice Chair Roberts, I see your hand.
Thank you, Chair McFadden. I want to pull 9.03. Following up to my request from the January 23rd meeting around the evidence of effectiveness, around the purchase order process, as well as timeline considerations. I just want to, I would just like to have discussion with staff around the inclusions within the regulation. I didn't see them included in the regulation, so I just want to tease that out.
Thank you for that. Once we come back to these items, it is critical that members from the authors of the policy are present for that discussion. Item 12.01, the Dibble Institute. Item 12.02, Rockwell Printing Company. Commissioner Muhammad, I see your hand.
Regarding the Dibbles Institute, want to understand more around the partnership with the health department moving forward, and some insight into the effectiveness found with the program.
Yep, some of that we discussed in committee last week, Commissioner Muhammad, but certainly members of the team, the authors of this letter, please be prepared to discuss that when we come back to the procurement item. We're not going to do it at this moment. We'll do it after public comment. Item 12.02, again, Rockwell Printing Company. Item 12.03, IXL Learning Incorporated, Supplemental Instructional Materials. Item 12.04, Tech Row, LLC. Item 20.01, Scholastic Incorporated. Thank you. So we pulled 9.03, Policy DJA, and we pulled 12.01, the Dibble Institute. We will now move to public comment. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. First, we have Keisha Goodwin, representing the Baltimore Teachers Union. Are you with us, Ms. Goodwin?
Ms. Goodwin's comment will be by video.
Thank you.
Good evening, CEO, Chair, and Commissioners. I am Keisha Goodwin, a member of the BTU PSRP Member Engagement Team. There are other classification and job title descriptions that need a closer look, but this presentation focal point is the ESOL paraeducator. With Kerwin and the demands of English learners, are ESOL pers receiving the pay they deserve? All paraeducators instruct students, yet different skills are needed to effectively and efficiently perform with English language learners, ELL. But before we get into that, let's review a few definitions which is pertinent to the ESOL paraeducator's experience. Exploitation, the action or fact of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. Bullying, systematically and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students or employees. Skill, the ability to use one's knowledge effectively and readily in execution or performance. Job descriptions drive the expectation of roles in an organization. Let's delve into the paraeducator and ESOL paraeducator job description, starting with the summary. There are clear differences between the two, which one has been highlighted. The para-ESOL states, assist in planning and providing interpretations, leading parent meetings, and limiting informal translation. Next, in the essential functions, there are differences such as support school staff with interpreting a variety of meetings and interaction with emerging bilingual families. In another states, it may require travel between school sites. All ESOL paraeducators do not drive a personal vehicle. They might have to use public transportation. So traveling from one site to another may be challenging. Also, knowing which school submits their payroll information is challenging as well. Currently, 10-month paraeducators hiring offer starts at $22.22 with a maximum of $32.50 an hour. Conversely, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has a median annual income for interpreters and translators at $56,860, which doesn't even include instruction. Stop exploiting our ESOL paraeducators. Pay them more for their skills, which clearly is not interchangeable as depicted on the paraeducator job description. More importantly, don't hold a member accountable for something you are bullying them to do by way of evaluation. BTU looks forward to working with you on this matter. Thank you for listening and your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Goodwin. We now have Christiana Diggs, the Vice President of the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. Is Christiana with us, or is that a video as well?
I'm here.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christiana Diggs, and I am a junior at the Western High School and the Vice President of the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. Tonight, I will lift up ASCBC's recent engagement in city schools, police chief search, and budget engagement process. Recently, ASCBC had the pleasure of speaking with staff from the Office of Human Capital and the school's office about qualities we want to see in a new school and a new chief of police. ASCBC hopes to see a candidate who is relatively young, progressive, approachable, and open-minded. We are also looking for someone who has experience with people who have physical, mental, and emotional disabilities. a background in de-escalation, and someone who likes being around younger students. We need someone who's really ambitious, who really cares about the students and pays attention to details and different perspectives. City school staff have been very understanding and supportive of our views, and they have voiced that there needs to be a separation from our traditional police mindset, needs to make the students the first priority. This person needs to be equitable, a listening ear. They also mentioned that they were looking for more extensive mental health training providers for our school police. Many of the members of ASCBC's executive board attend schools where the school police officers are supportive members of our school communities, and we look forward to a new chief of police who can make the experience universal for students across city schools. Recently, we have also had the opportunity to work with the Finance Department and Family Engagement Office to co-develop and co-sponsor the district's youth budget priority engagement session hosted at Dunbar High School on February 8th. ASCBC was happy to undertake this collaboration because in prior years, we were concerned that the district wasn't authentically engaging students in the budget process. Last year, among our concerns, we felt as though the engagement sessions were too late in the process to really impact decision-making, and that the district wasn't accountable to students' participants because there was no follow-up in how feedback would be used to impact decision-making. We also felt that there was a missed opportunity to use these sessions to educate students about how they could get involved in their school budget process, which is the most immediate and impactful way that students can get involved. This year, ASCBC had the opportunity to co-write the session, and 7 members of ASCBC's executive board facilitated discussion groups at the event. We enjoyed collaborating with the Department of Finance and Family Engagement team and appreciated that they were open to our ideas and co-design. Our goal was to develop activities that would engage students and connect to their experience and interests. For example, we started off with a beginning icebreaker where we split off into groups and posed the question of, if you had a $500 budget and you were going to a concert, how are you going to divide that money between a ticket, outfit, transportation, and food? Our goal was to help students understand budgeting trade-offs in their own lives before applying that to the district's budget priorities. While we've seen improvement from last year, we've also like to continue to grow and do better at engaging students in school and district budgets in the future. In particular, we would like to see students engage much earlier in the budget process so that students are able to dig deeper into the budget process. We would like to see meetings beginning in the fall next year. We also want to see the district educate students on how to participate in their school's budget process more effectively. Lastly, we want students to always know how their feedback is going to be used to shape the budget. The district must be accountable to students who take time to offer feedback. We enjoyed working with the Finance and Family Engagement Office, and we look forward to working with them in the future to make sure that city schools continue to grow towards truly authentic student engagement in school and district budget processes, where students are involved from the beginning and know that their perspectives will be incorporated in a meaningful way. Thank you to all the staff and offices that have collaborated with us so far. Thank you to board members for your time and consideration. On February 8th at our session in Dunbar High School, we then went over educational improvements the district puts money into and chose 3 that we felt were most essential. One group focused primarily on recruiting and retaining high quality and diverse educators. Given that there is a teacher shortage and staff members in public schools, a student even mentioned that their teacher teaches 2 classes at once. ASCBC hopes that with more students being involved with the budget process earlier and within their schools, having their voice be heard and digging deeper into the process, that no student and teacher would have to be put under that stressful and difficult situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diggs. Christiana, thank you very much. Next, we have Angie Winder, the chair of the Parent and Community Advisory Board. Are you with us or is it a video?
Hello, I am with you.
Good
I'm
evening.
probably going, good evening. I'm probably going to keep my video off. I think it has to be off, right? Just so I can
No,
read
you
off my computer.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. So good evening, everyone. First, let me say happy CTE month. My name is Angie Winder, and I'm a proud alumni of Morgenthaler Vocational Technical High School. Shout out to Principal Lawrence and her marvelous team for the great work that they're doing at the school. Not only am I a product of City Schools, I am also the chair for the Parent and Community Advisory Board, affectionately known as PCAB. For those who don't know, PCAB serves to advise the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools and the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners about how parents, families, the community, and educators can collaborate to help our youth succeed. PCAB was created by Maryland law in 1997 through Senate Bill 795. This bill required not only the creation of a new board of school commissioners in Baltimore City, but the creation of a new parent and community advisory board. This board must consist of 14 members, the majority of whom must be parents of a current student. Just a fun fact for anyone who doesn't know about PCAB. Though we only have 14 members who serve on the board, we're always, and I can't emphasize that enough, always accepting volunteers from the community to join our committees. The committees are as follows: budget, communications, family and community engagement, policy, and teaching and learning. Speaking of board members, PCAB recently appointed 4 new members to join our amazing team. More information will follow in a more formal announcement, so please stay tuned for that. We meet monthly and have a standing spot at every public Board of Commissioners meeting, where a board representative provides insights and input from the community and families on the policy and direction of city schools. Today, I'd like to provide just some PCAB updates and a brief quarterly report. At our last PCAB public meeting in January, we hosted one of the district's public budget info sessions, focusing on connecting with community partners. I would like to say that we received positive feedback. We want to thank City Schools for their partnership and support and all of our community partners. At that meeting, we reached over 4,000 people and had an increase in engagement during our Q&A segment. Our next public meeting, because I have to put the plug out there, it will be this Thursday. Keep that momentum going, guys. It will be this Thursday at 6:30 via Zoom, and it will also be streamed live directly from our Facebook page. The topics of discussion will be an update on policy IKA grading and reporting, portrait of a graduate, and a focus group on what we'd like to see in the next chief of police, school police. So we're looking forward to seeing you all join us at our next meeting, again, this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Moreover, I'd like to give a special thanks to Chief Hike Hubbard and her amazing team at the Office of Communications, Engagements, and Enrollment, OCEE. We are building a great partnership where we meet monthly to discuss ways to effectively connect with the community. So thank you for acknowledging some of our suggestions and your response to our requests. We are truly just appreciative of the partnership. Next, we are currently seeking a new administrative assistant. We had over 100 applicants. Yep, you heard that right. So we will be conducting interviews soon. So we thank you all for your patience and understanding and any delays in our email responses. We've been pretty popular these days, so that's a good thing. Special thanks to my PCAB family / colleagues. We are all volunteers, yet your unwavering services does not go unnoticed. I just want to say that publicly. Now just a brief quarterly, I promise it will be brief quarterly report. As far as executive committee, as I stated, I am the chair. I wanted to mention this just in case I'm not on the next quarterly report, but I will be I'm actually in my last term serving on PCAB, And I've had the pleasure of serving, connecting, and building strong partnerships with families across the district. Starting off as the vice chair of communications committee, vice chair of PCAB, and then chair of the PCAB, which will end in July. I say that to say that we all can do something. And I just want to just say thank you again to everyone who has played a part in helping us maintain a momentum that we have and a connection we have with the community. Budget. I've already kind of mentioned that with the budget info session. There was a lot of planning prior to that. So I want to say thank you to our chair of the budget committee, Rachel Duncan. Oh, time is up. Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wander. That was a wealth of information that you provided to us tonight. And remember, to all of our recognized groups, you all are welcome and have space in all of our public meetings, each of them, to just fill us in on some of the things that are happening, and to also fill in members of the public as you all did tonight. Thank you very much for the work that you all are doing. Now I'll turn it over to our board executive for public comment. Dr. Judkins.
Thank you, Chair. Our first public comment is from LaTarsha Robinson, and the topic is professional development. And she's a special ed para-educator, and this will be an email that will be read. Good evening, CEO, Chair, and Commissioners. My name is LaTarsha Robinson. I am in the PSRP chapter. I'm a para-educator of 18 years serving as a one-on-one. Today, I commented on easier accessible opportunities for PSRPs. One particular opportunity is the Crisis Prevention Institute training known as CPI. I have had the opportunity to acquire this training, but have not had the opportunity to remain CPI active. Some of our students need therapeutic aids. Often an assignment is denied to a paraeducator one-on-one and given to a temporary employee because their agency provides them with the annual CPI or similar training. I am aware that some staff in specialized schools and a couple picked staff in other schools may receive this training. I am asking for an equal opportunity for professional development for paraeducators that are in the SPED sector to register, complete the training, and receive the card. Overall, we need more PD for paraeducators. The usual small group and classroom management is good for all instructional paras, but I have attended these training sessions for several years now. Maybe the district can offer hands-on training for reading IEP, 504, SST, and completing the therapeutic aid form, to name a few. What is the process to change from one paraeducator job title to another? Is it as simple as the principal reassigning a person, or is it more to it? If the answer is case by case, please provide different scenarios and that process. The instability of being displaced if a student leaves that school or phases out of needing one-on-one is disruptive. Also, not being able to remain at a school even when there are other para positions and the administration is willing to switch you is disrespectful. I feel like a property of the special education department instead of a valuable human. Thank you for listening, and I continue to do this work because I love the students. Next, we have public comment from Alicia Lee, Baltimore Children and Youth Fund. The topic is Fine Arts Plan 2.0, and it is a video.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Lee, and I'm the president of the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund. It is also my honor to co-chair the advisory committee for the Baltimore Arts Education Initiative. Since 2018, the advisory committee has brought together community members, educators, parents, students, and city and philanthropic leaders to support first the writing and then the implementation of the Fine Arts Plan. And this is unique. As the former Fine Arts Coordinator for the Maryland State Department of Education, I can say with confidence that City Schools sets a high bar for collaborating with the community to advance arts access, and it is working. And I'm here tonight to express my heartfelt support for Fine Arts Plan 2.0 and gratitude for Dr. Santelises' leadership and vision for the arts. The final draft represents many hours of collaborative writing by the Fine Arts Office and community members that sit on the advisory council. And so bravo to everyone who's had a hand in bringing this to fruition. I would be remiss if I did not bring up a few urgent recommendations that are critical to the success of Arts Plan 2.0. The recruitment of qualified fine arts teachers remains a significant barrier to full implementation of the Fine Arts Plan, and we ask that you develop and implement a comprehensive 365-day approach to teacher recruitment that also includes signing incentives, that you also hire new arts teachers early to ensure participation in the New Teacher Institute, and expand the New Teacher Institute from 1 week to 2 weeks, and continue providing early career teachers with support through mentorship and monthly trainings throughout the school year. Also, budgeting for stipends to incentivize participation in professional learning communities, especially for early career and conditionally certified teachers. And we ask that you revise the high school budget and the scheduling guidance to really ensure depth of study in the arts is equitable and accessible. Depth of study is defined as schools offering a 100-level course plus 2 additional courses in the same arts discipline. And also that you establish and maintain a district-wide approach to ensuring instrumental music access for all 6th through 8th graders. We also ask that you improve training and support for school administrators that are tasked with entering arts course data into Infinite Campus. That inconsistent data entry at the school level has created unreliable data reporting district-wide. Well, thank you so much for taking these recommendations into consideration. We truly appreciate your dedication to achieving equitable access to the arts for all students.
Thank you. Our next public comment is also a video. It's from Rachel Simonson, Garrett Heights Elementary Middle School parent. The agenda topic is CEO's comments on Fine Arts Strategic Plan. This will be our video.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Simonson, and I'm a parent of 2 children at Garrett Heights Elementary Middle School. I want to thank the school board and district staff for continuing to develop the Fine Arts Strategic Plan. But I also want to encourage you to take the next step, to turn these ideas into reality. In particular, I urge you to bring instrumental music programs back to all of our city schools. All children deserve the chance to learn a musical instrument at school. Not just those children who are lucky enough to attend one of the handful of schools in our district who have instrumental music programs. And we know how to make this happen. Children in districts all over the state have the opportunity, some as young as 4th grade, to learn a musical instrument. If we really care about equity and giving our children the same opportunities as children all over the state, and ensuring that even within our city district, all children have the same opportunities, we need to make this happen. So I thank you again for keeping the arts at the forefront of the discussion, and I look forward to the day, hopefully in the very near future, when all of our children have the opportunity to learn a musical instrument at school. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Larry Gaines, paraeducator. The topic is professional development. Similar. I'm Larry Gaines, a special education paraeducator. My comment is to ask for more support for instructing nonverbal students and valuing skilled workers. Sign language is one tool that can assist with nonverbal students. Students and staff would benefit from the district providing sign language as a part of professional development on a consistent basis. A few paraeducators possess the skill but aren't compensated for utilizing it. Yet, it is noticeable that nonverbal students are more responsive with paras that use sign language to communicate. Please provide more sign language and other professional development to better engage with our nonverbal students. Speaking a foreign language, using sign language, and applying CPI or CPR first aid, to name a few, are skills worthy of additional compensation. These skills improve student achievement and a healthy, safe learning environment. This school system does not have a problem with listing skills and the essential functions of a job description, nor displaying the qualities of its employees on social media. People know when they are set up to fail and when they are being used. Therefore, show us how much you appreciate paraprofessionals and school-related personnel PSRP with support and with the bread and butter. The next public comment is Nathan Farrell. He's a teacher, agenda topic, educator certification. This is a video.
Give me 1 second.
Nathan Farrell, teacher. The BTU continues to request meetings. Good evening, Nathan Farrell, teacher. The BTU continues to request meetings with district leadership over the issue of certification. We've yet to meet. Certification impacts recruitment and retention of educators. Our concerns are well documented in reports by the Fund for Educational Excellence, the Black Teacher Retention Workgroup findings, and in a recent Baltimore Banner article titled, "Black Teachers Are Leaving." We hope to meet with district leadership to improve issues around educator certification. We need meaningful pipelines for PSRP to teacher programs. In Baltimore City, no PSRP to teacher program exists. We would like to collaborate with the district to develop one. The Black Teachers Are Leaving article found that teachers most often leave because of an expensive and confusing certification process. A persistent pain point for city school educators is the current wait time of 120 days. That's 4 months for an application to be reviewed and approved or rejected. We believe that through collaboration and communication, the 4-month wait period can be shortened. Often, certification applications and renewal requests are rejected by the Office of Certification without explanation. Rejecting applications without specific, actionable feedback wastes everyone's time and actually causes more work for certification staff at North Avenue. Certification staff have the ability to use a resolve deficiency option in the Maryland Teach Certification portal to provide specific, actionable feedback and allow educators to resolve deficiencies in their application in order to have the certificates renewed and not rejected without providing a reason. We request that the Office of Certification stop refusing to issue content or transcript evaluations. The BTU contract guarantees a transcript evaluation for our members seeking initial certification. MSD has specific guidance to ensure that content evaluations are completed and uploaded to the Maryland Teach portal as an official document of record. City Schools Office of Certification should ensure that they are issuing these fundamental documents to educators. Last, we ask the board to direct City Schools leadership to use its authority under the new changes to COMAR and the regulations that govern teacher certification. We ask the board to direct the Office of Certification to request conditional licenses for all employees in city schools who have not yet met the requirements for professional licensure as of June 30th, 2024. To be clear, City Schools has the authority to grant a conditional license to all employees who currently do not meet requirements for a professional license. This will remedy the issue of educators working on an expired license. The Office of Certification can use their authority under the new regulations to support our conditionally certified educators and those on expired licenses so we can sustain fully staffed schools. New COMAR regulations governing licenses went into effect January 1, 2024, and BTU has been requesting meetings since October 2023 about these changes to state law. Is the board willing to direct district leaders to meet with the BTU about these changes to state law? We want to collaborate around the issue of retention and certification, and we hope the board agrees.
Thank you. Chair McFadden, can you indicate if you can hear me? Everything seems to be frozen now on my computer.
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. My video's not on and I can't mute and unmute. So as long as you can hear me, we're good. All right, thank you. Our next public comment is going to be an email that's read. It's from Dante Miles. Topic is culture and climate, and this is from BTU Transportation. Good evening, CEO and commissioners. My name is Dante Miles. I'm a transportation aide and have been.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You'd like to speak live then?
Please.
I also had a written comment. Okay, I will go ahead and time you. Have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, CEO and commissioners. My name is Dante Miles. I'm a transportation aide and have been one for over 25 years. I enjoy and have enjoyed the work I do. even though a lot of times we are overlooked and taken for granted. This job is necessary to get many of our children to and from school safely, but recently it has not been rewarding over the past few years. The lack of quality professional development and morale from leadership, be it site level or otherwise, are causing some of the highest turnover and poor working conditions in the field. Appointments are scheduled on PD and asynchronous days because there's nothing for us to do not to abuse the policy. There have been several occasions that we literally have been sitting the entire day with nothing meaningful provided for us, and it has caused my coworkers to become visibly frustrated. We understand that these days are work days and have no problem coming in, but when our time is wasted, it becomes an issue. There have been several occasions where we have come in and our leadership is nowhere to be found, no agendas presented, input has been asked for but dismissed, and we literally waste days. I would like to see PD gear for transportation such as fire drills, emergency planning, de-escalation training, retirement and insurance benefits, grief counseling, to name a few. I would like to know what is meaningfully expected for transportation aids on asynchronous days. As of now, we sit around and stare at the walls, being denied leave and leadership, seemingly unprepared for days that are on the school calendar. Months in advance has been demoralizing. Asking for recommendations to improve morale, then implementing little to none of the suggestions is a waste, which causes disengagement and disconcertment. Then when we speak up to leadership, ask our unions to intervene, or even tonight, speaking here, we fear real and in some cases, retaliation. This retaliation varies from denial of leave to having people sitting around doing nothing meaningful on PD and asynchronous days, and changing bus routes, to name a few. If we want to maintain the good employees we have and bring in more, this must change. I learned a long time ago from my father, and the older I get, it becomes more real. The three things people hold most valuable are time, energy, and finances. Energy can be restored, finances can be recouped, but we cannot get back time lost and wasted, and that must stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. And our next public comment is from Juliana Ohania, Green Street Academy teacher, and the agenda topic is retirement options, and this will be a video.
Hi, I'm Julia Ohanian. I've taught in Baltimore City for the last 8 years, high school English. So after 3 years of fruitless attempts and confusion, I finally submitted the necessary paperwork to get out of a predatory retirement plan with AXA, now called Equitable. A company recently fined $50 million by the SEC for withholding crucial information about the high fees that it charges its customers. So for me, after just 8 years of teaching, this is mostly a headache, an embarrassing episode where I allowed a life insurance company to sell me an expensive product. But for too many of us at the end of our career, this could spell financial disaster. Teachers who have put in years of service to make our city a little better each day have been robbed with high fee annuities and actively managed funds that fail to beat the growth of even simple cheap index funds. We have let it happen. Why are we trusting a company that has been caught red-handed by the SEC to manage the financial futures of our teachers? We need to do better, and we can. It shouldn't be left to word of mouth that our teachers learn to dodge these predatory salesmen who prowl the hallways and teachers' lounges looking for fresh contracts. We've got to protect our teachers and each other, all of whom dedicate our lives to the public good. There are advocacy organizations like 403BYs that have vetted the companies who offer retirement plans to educators. They rate them based on the fees they charge, the performance of their products, and any sneaky attempts they make to hold onto our money against our will. We need to revise the list of companies we partner with in order to weed out those that are here to exploit us. We can't continue to let teachers be bled dry. We need to do better for one another. The way to do that is clear. I hope that you'll do the right thing.
Great, thank you. Our final public comment is from Talia Whitaker. This is a Paul Lawrence Dunbar student and Be More Youth Arts Advocacy Council member. Agenda topic is equitable access to arts education for Baltimore City students. This will be an email that's read. Hello, my name is Talia Whitaker and I'm a student at Paul Dunbar High School. I am also a member of the Be More Youth Arts Advocacy Council, BYAAC. And we advocate for the arts. Thank you to Dr. Santelises and the School Board of Commissioners for in support of the arts for Baltimore City Public School students, but there is still a lot of work to do. We believe that all students should have the right to fully develop their creative potential at every grade level and not to be excluded for any reason. The art that I practice is singing. As a singer, I've only had a chance to actually learn about music after school. I didn't have a choir class, and while we were trying to get one, we were never given an option. The only time I was able to learn music was at church, but I rarely had time after school. It is important for school leaders to stay committed to providing equitable access to all 5 disciplines in the arts for all of us students. Did you know that only 25% of high schools in Baltimore City School District maintain enough staffing needed for students to pursue an arts discipline as a college or career pathway? But here's an even more alarming statistic. A mere 20 out of 153 Baltimore City schools offer students the opportunity to play an instrument in a band or orchestra. Studies show that participation in the arts can help to alleviate stress, enhance memory, and foster a stronger sense of social connection, leading to a greater overall sense of happiness. Many of my peers will experience mental illness, with a staggering number of us carrying this burden throughout our lives. So what will you do? How will you contribute to bringing a positive change? Are you willing to embrace the Fine Arts Strategic Plan to ensure an opportunity for a better future for our students? Are you willing to commit to making the arts a priority in all of Baltimore City schools? Thank you for listening. And that is the end of our public comments.
Thank you for that, Dr. Judkins. We have a few committee report. Well, we have one committee report. As the Teaching and Learning Committee did meet on February 6th. But before we go there, I'm going to have our student commissioner provide some updates at this time. Commissioner Lawson and then Commissioner Slater-Harrington.
Thank you, Chair McFadden. Last week, February 7th, I participated in the Student Board Forum Planning. During this meeting, we looked into how to make the process of attending this meeting more equitable and engaging for students of all backgrounds. Special thank you to LaShawna Williams, Staff Specialist, Board of Communications, Andre Riley, Executive Director of Communications, as well as Chief Highcover, and all staff for making this event possible and the planning of this event possible. Excuse me. Thursday, February 1st, I had an awesome meeting with the Chair of Safety and Wholeness, Commissioner Muhammad. In this meeting, we discussed how to move our district forward in regards to safety and wholeness, working on the definition of safety and wholeness, and a number of things to improve our district. I would also like to thank our Director of Fine Arts and our board chair for attending Baltimore School for the Arts Black History Month Showcase. It's always refreshing to see district leaders at events, at school events like this. So thank you guys for coming. And lastly, I would like to give a shout out to all schools who participated in the 100th day of school. Congratulations. And that concludes my remarks for tonight.
Chair, would you like me to begin? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to give the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting summary. The committee met on February 6th. Chair Ronald McFadden and Commissioner Kenyatta Bey were in attendance. The committee received a thorough update on the district's early learning work. While KRA scores or kindergarten readiness assessment scores were not available at that time, we did get information about supports provided to our youngest students to help prepare them for kindergarten. This included efforts to mitigate the challenges of our growing number of preschool students receiving special education services. And we learned about a fun summer learning effort with Camp Curiosity that has been effective in increasing readiness scores. Just one moment. Hey. Sorry. All right. Most notable was an update on the district's efforts to align with the Pillar 1 of Maryland's blueprint, which includes centralized pre-K enrollment, the expansion of Judy Centers, MSDE accreditation, full-day programming for 3-year-olds, really bringing up our para-educators for pre-K, working on a mixed delivery system, and working with private pre-K providers. Also notable, and we're going to keep an eye out for an upcoming procurement for a new pre-K curriculum in the fall. And that is my report this evening.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Slater-Harrington, and thank you, Commissioner Lawson, as well, for providing your updates this evening. Were there any questions from commissioners for either Commissioner Lawson or for Commissioner Slater-Harrington? Hearing none, we're going to go back to the items that were pulled from consent. We'll start with item 9.03, policy DJA. Vice Chair, and but before the Vice Chair goes, do we have the members from staff with us? Okay, hey there, Ms. Matthews.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, I'm Shabrae Matthews, Director of Procurement, here to answer questions for a second reader.
Thank you, Shabrae. So I have 3 questions. The first one, it is around purchase orders. So in the regulation 2-103 on page 18, there's reference to purchase orders. And I'm just curious, with the opportunity for the threshold to potentially increase, at the January 23rd meeting, I lifted to the team that I was apprehensive about how we would move forward with updating, providing support to our district in an approach to ensure that work would not begin without following the recommended process. So I would be curious if there's been partnership around what that approach looks like as this is an opportunity to scale future business opportunities for our community stakeholders, small businesses, organizations. Has there been discussion around a larger professional development strategy to ensure that business isn't taking place outside of the recommended approach?
Got it. For our internal staff and not vendors, correct?
Yes, mainly, yes.
Okay. It is something that we are, as we're going into FY25, budget season is taking place now. So we are working on what's going to make sense, right? Who we need to meet with. We have a new ERP system. Do we need to show up at operations committee? Do we need to go to secretary's training? Do we have to, beef up our guidance documents, which we're doing a complete overhaul. Thanks to these changes with DGA and DGA RA, we have to change our documentations anyway. So we want to be thoughtful in the information that we present to staff so that they have the opportunity to do the job correctly. So it is something that we're looking into. We're not, all the steps are not done yet, but it's on the radar.
I appreciate that, Shabray, and not to push back too much. And I don't know that it particularly lives in procurement proper. I know that this is a cross-functional effort. I'm
Yes.
just curious that, not even curious, I'm just apprehensive around, discussing the threshold increasing, potential business increasing because the threshold could potentially
Right.
be increasing. And we already know that there's areas of opportunity where vendors are starting work in our system without it properly going through the approval queue to ensure that they are paid. And so I don't know what cross-functional effort or committee should be working together to ensure that the larger messaging around the recommended guidance to ensure that the proper steps are taken before we do business with our stakeholders. But I'm curious if that should live in the regulation to ensure that that is executed with fidelity.
Vice Chair Roberts, may I jump in as well?
Sure.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Chief.
This is, hi, ma'am. This is Chris Doherty, Chief Financial Officer. And I just wanted to add to what Director Matthews said, and connected directly to the discussion on January 23rd. In addition to the changes to the documents, the guiding documents, we also sent out a message to all our vendors, specifically in keeping with what we took to be your suggestion / guidance. And I don't have it in front of me, but having worked on it with Shabray, it essentially said what I think you and we meant, which is we are contemplating in the context of the DJA update and in connection with the state law, having the threshold go up. And we said to them, it hasn't passed yet, but if this should happen, we really want, we want to work with you. We want to have everything be done correctly. It could be a good news event for certain vendors that were in the 50 and below category. And so we basically just gave them a heads up, said, this is a possible change, and then we had links to just the things that you mean, which is encouraging or reminding vendors not to begin any work without a purchase order. We have cheat sheets, for the lack of a better word. They're not the end all be all. They're not the only thing you need, but sometimes a handy cheat sheet can be a very good resource for folks rather than a 2-hour video or something. So we got very good feedback from that blast message. It was from Director Matthews, and we sent it out to all of our vendors, several thousand vendors. We're laying it all out. It wasn't a long memo. It was a page and a half or so, and they seemed excited. They seemed to be ready for the changes, and we put in what we thought you and we had talked about, which was we need to make sure that we do this right, and we also need to fix some of the things that plague some of our procurements, $50,000 threshold or not, right? Just some of the basic blocking and tackling that can sometimes get people tied up into knots, often affecting the smaller local, sometimes novice vendors, first-time vendors, second-time vendors. Obviously we'll send you that memo. It's only one piece of what we're trying to do, but we definitely didn't think we didn't want to widen the gauge of this type of procurement and not prepare people for it or give them any kind of support for it, because then we'll just have people frustrated by it, and we think it's in keeping with what you asked for. In addition to the changes that were in the document you referred to, both in the 1-103 and 1-208 and elsewhere.
Helpful. I wonder if that should live in the regulation. But moving to evidence of effectiveness, I know that it's referenced in the regulation, but after we had our discussion, the collective discussion at the January 23rd meeting, and while again I don't think that this exclusively lives with the procurement team, but I just thought that there would be more of a thoughtful, comprehensive, thoughtful approach to supporting staff, or reference to how we're going to support staff, provide more of a standardized and comprehensive evidence of effectiveness for future board letters around these newer procurements. Could you or anyone a part of that cross-functional team talk to that?
Shabray, in other words, ma'am, in addition to our inclusion in 1-208, I think of requiring that mentioning the evidence of effectiveness, but is the suggestion to have more language in there about what constitutes the right type or the right amount of evidence of effectiveness? Is that a fairly good paraphrase?
Yes, I think, to the spirit of the discussion at our last meeting, and Chair McFadden, feel free to jump in here, but it's so much variability from board letter to board letter around the various procurement items that come before the board. I know that is a sore spot for many board members. They're not always as comprehensive as they can be, and they don't paint the best pictures of why we're moving forward with that vendor or that approach. And so I think that this is a really thoughtful opportunity to elevate how we can improve that element of the board letter alone. If we're going to be paying more money, if there's opportunity for our stakeholders to engage with us more frequently at a higher dollar threshold, we should understand why, how they're engaging with us, because at the end of the day, we need to know that they are doing work in the best interest of our students. And I don't know that the evidence of effectiveness to date consistently reflects that.
Understood. And Commissioner Roberts, you would prefer to see it as a regulation versus a procedure?
I would like to see that in the regulation. Chair McFadden, you have thoughts?
I think it could be helpful in the regulation, right? It may not necessarily have to be extremely prescriptive, but I think to what the vice chair is mentioning, not only does it allow the board, right, to gain a clear understanding, especially members who are not in the operations committee or in the teaching and learning committee, where generally items come through. It's also for the sake of stakeholders and community members, right, to understand as well how dollars are being spent, what is the track record, and it also can encourage potential vendors, right, if they're thinking of doing business with city schools, some additional look-forwards and requirements that the board is expecting to see if we are being asked to approve contracts. So, Ms. Matthews, is there any hesitation with it going in the regs versus it just being in procedure?
So in true transparency, from the meeting on the 23rd, I didn't gather that the evidence of effectiveness that Commissioner Roberts was requiring us to break it out like in the regulations, because, it feels more like a procedure versus a regulation, but I understand, right? I understand what you just said. So we would have to, go back. I do know that in December, we did have a discussion at the teaching and learning meeting that the board would share guidance with us on how they would like to see that that play out, right? So that information.
You haven't received that, correct?
No, right. So that would be helpful, right? In order for us to maybe craft or, think about how we want it to be in the regulations, if that makes sense. But as of right now, we don't have that guidance.
Understood. I want to go to Commissioner Sally, who had his hand up, then back to Chief Doherty, and then Chief Simmons.
Yeah, let me, thank you so much, Chair. Let me just be brief in my remarks there. So just to kind of double down on what Chair McFadden said, the benefit of it going in a regulation is that it has an ability not only to signal to the field, stakeholders, like what our intentions are, but from a clarity standpoint and a longevity standpoint, meaning that like it lasts in duration beyond just this Board of Commissioners, but the next Board of Commissioners may choose to like augment that if they so choose. But for now, for our purposes, I think providing that clarity is going to be essential. But I also encourage us to also piggyback on a rider with guidance as well. So I think the two can work really nicely together if we craft that carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair McFadden, for indicating I could go after Commissioner Sally. I want to just say we did think, and I think this is important to point out, if not belabor, we did think that we were including what was being requested. So the changes, of course, went far beyond just the threshold change, right? Like, in other words, the changes to the policies were not just, there was a change in state law, and so let's just have that flow through. And so we thought we were addressing it, and I certainly agree with the point quite a bit. I must say that I do feel like the implementability of it would be quite difficult, and I hate to sound like not a can-do person, but as you know, as the commissioners know, the range of procurements is really from A to Z and then some, and they cover just everything one could imagine. And for example, the federal government years ago took on a very large effort on evidence of effectiveness for educational programs. So educational programs being only a small sliver of what our system procures, and that has been a decades-long up and down battle about with more PhDs and more millions of dollars than one would think were needed. And it's I think it's been a step forward, right? And that's just evidence of effectiveness about whether a particular intervention program works. I think for us to try to, I think it would be very difficult for us to take a 25 times wider landscape and to put in meaningful meaningful language now about how someone would put in evidence of effectiveness. And I'm not trying to put words in anyone's mouths. We thought this first step was pretty responsive to say that for every single procurement, there will be a letter, and the letter will say this, including evidence of effectiveness, and it would be viewed like that. I don't think that lives anywhere else in the policy world yet. So that itself is a pretty big step forward. But to do much more of it now, I think in a reg could be really difficult because of the breadth. I mean, like, I can think of take a lot of the nuts and bolts procurements that we do on any given procurement night, right? Fencing, plumbing supplies, XYZ, evidence of effectiveness. It could wind up being like vendor commercials, right? Like, if we weren't careful, it could be a section where the vendor says, these are the best, elbow joints that you're ever going to get. And it just becomes more, it could possibly become not what's being intended. So I'm sounding like staff of being a little bit daunted by the implementability of it, and thinking that what we put forth in 2-108, even if it didn't seem it, I guess it didn't come across, was a pretty good big first step in that direction by putting in evidence of effectiveness that's now in the reg, if it is approved, that we can point to any procurement and say, where's your evidence of effectiveness? Which we can't do now. But I'll turn it over to the lawyer, but that's the view from the staff.
I just want to say really quickly, Chief, I don't particularly recall any instances where the evidence of effectiveness is not included on a board letter. I think that where I am and a number of my board colleagues are now is that we consistently receive incomplete or insufficient evidence of effectiveness overviews. And so in an effort to move forward with better explanations as to why we should be moving forward with this particular vendor or with a particular proposal or a particular approach, that needs to be improved. I am fully aligned with you that there is a spectrum of items that we procure for the system, commodities, services, and such. And it's not that we don't currently have that as a requirement. It's just the variability of what we receive. And so this isn't I think this is a really good time for us to be more thoughtful around continuity and consistency of what's submitted to the board. We're spending a lot of money. We're spending a lot of money with our stakeholders, with our vendors, and they should be able to talk back to us to tell us how they're working with our children in a really meaningful way, how they're improving the system in a really thoughtful way. And that's not always reflected in the evidence of effectiveness that we receive.
Understood.
Chief Seven.
Sure. Josh Sivan, Chief Legal Officer. So in this conversation, which thought went into sort of how to frame this out in regulations, and I just wanted to frame for the board as information that we do get our share of bid protests, right? And bid protests are often key to language in our policy and regulation. And I think reflecting, giving guidance, setting rules, but also sort of having the idea that having language that is very prescriptive and one size fits all could result, and this is the caution always with clear language, and one vendor saying other vendors didn't comply with the evidence of effectiveness, and therefore my bid should be awarded over that bid, and or that they didn't comply with the regulations at all. And so, sometimes we want to make very prescriptive language, but this is an area where I think very careful thought needs to be given about the differences, for instance, between a lawnmower company and a tech company and a kitchen supplies company and the like, because those evidence of effectiveness may be different. Similarly, there's language in the regulation on best value, and that language too is, and I think other issues that we've been considering is there's a lot of language in the regulation and in the policy about vendors in the Baltimore City community and MWBE vendors, and one of the barriers to entry into and access can be evidence of effectiveness at the start. So balancing those pieces just takes a lot of factors in. So I think that just putting that as perspective as we continue to craft this could be something where we need to be, and we continue to be thoughtful about both making sure that we have complete procurement letters and not inadvertently going in a direction that would be challenging for certain vendors or set ourselves up for litigation.
I disagree. I disagree, Chief. I don't think setting the stage for people to do business with us by telling them how they should do business with us and prove that they can effectively do business with us or have been doing business with us to be a barrier. So we can agree to disagree there. But Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
No, there was Commissioner Coy first,
Coy.
and then Commissioner Bay. And I want everyone to be able to put their thoughts out, but also want to kind of move this along. So Commissioner Coy.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. And just a couple of thoughts that I have. One is, it's apparent to me in just reflecting this and naming it, in our role as commissioners, procurement review is a major item and responsibility. And just, the thoughtfulness of all of the commissioners and of the staff on these items, I just want to express my appreciation for, reflect on that, and say, one thing that I have been impressed with over the past year and a half that I've been a commissioner, and folks know that I've asked my fair share of questions and have dug into things, just how thoughtful and prepared in so many different ways, given the number, the volume, the variety of procurement items. So thank you, staff, and for how you all have and do manage so many different pieces. And I do think that the interest from the board is because of how much this is part of what we do. And analogy that comes to mind is that you can't turn a parked car. You got to be moving to turn the car. And I think about, both what is in the regulation, what is in the policy, and what is then in the practice. And I'm thinking about what you said, Commissioner Sally, about, wanting to institutionalize and have that the permanence. And, I'll just reflect and say that in my experience, and I would like to encourage, all of us to continue down this path in the way that you all as staff have been, and that we as commissioners have been, which is like working alongside each other to figure out how this is in practice. I think the changes that you have made and proposed here in the regulation and in the policy are good. And I think that there can still be work that we do as we want to see how these things first are in practice, perhaps, and then in the policy and regulation as some of these, nuts and bolts are figured out, because it is complex. It devolves really quickly into spaghetti, and we want to be thoughtful and not burdensome. And there's plenty of things that we as commissioners, I can see my fellow commissioners and Phil and myself feel a responsibility to understand, to review, and to do our job. And we know you all are doing your job, so we appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy, and I'll just echo, I don't think that this is any challenge with staff, right, and their credibility and what you all are doing. We certainly appreciate you. It's just, making sure that we get this right. Is if we're in the policy development stage, and we have some opportunities to improve our practice as a board, but also for the district, I think we should take advantage of it. And so I just want to echo that as well. We know that you all do stellar work, right? We want to make sure that we're supporting the work that you do on behalf of our children. Commissioner Bay?
Yes, I just wanted to say, vulgarities can be a very slippery slope. And often on the Teaching and Learning Committee, when things are put forward, we've had these questions before, how the effectiveness becomes a very big question. And so therefore, to create a structure of reporting that, it becomes essential. Now, you can always vary a little bit because of whatever the item is, whether it is a curriculum or whether it is as you say, a U-boat. Okay, there is a difference, okay, but still, there has to be some proof of how we benefit our scholars, our young scholars. Somewhere along the line, we have to make sure that even our vendors are aware that this is our first and foremost responsibility. And so therefore, to structure that in a way that may leave a little room for wiggle. Like, okay, yeah, I see that you haven't done this before, or I see that you have the possibility of doing this, or I see the effectiveness from what you have gleaned from the world has proven this to be a successful effort is there. But to have it not there at all just says that I can sell you anything. And that car looks really great until you drive it off the lot. So, I mean, we have to be aware. We really do have to be aware of the potential, at least, of effectiveness. That I think that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kingadabay. My last question was around timeline. Also elevated at the January 23rd meeting, I asked about what adjustments would be made or processes that would be activated to ensure that there would be a productive timeline for execution of procurements. I do believe that should live in the regulation as well.
Surrounding late procurements.
All procurements are not emergency procurements.
Right.
And Commissioner, we did include language in the revisions that talked about the flow of the committee process, and some language in that same section we were looking at around going to a committee before meeting of the full board, just reflecting and aligning with board policy BG. I keep forgetting which one this was. BGB. Which has that provision in it. And then we also put in some language around confirming purchasing orders, which is a thrust in our work internally to minimize confirming purchase orders, which are purchase orders that occur after the work has started. And so there's strong language in another section of the regulation that deals with that piece as well, both going towards the exact point that you're sharing.
I'm aware of that. My point more so targets what is the proactive approach to ensuring that procurements are following a productive timeline for execution. What is the proactive side of this? And so there are often times that the board will receive procurements late. And I think this is a good time that we could develop potentially a schedule, a calendar for execution timelines that should live in the regulation. And we need to hold true to that.
So we do have a board schedule that we give out to end users and offices. So your board letter is due this date if you're trying to hit this committee, or if you're trying to hit this particular board meeting. I do know that leadership has recently sent something out that says that we have to hold firm on the timeline so that we are not in situations where we have to send the agenda late, or you guys are getting the agenda a couple days before the meeting, because that's not helpful for you, and it's not helpful for us, because receiving late procurements means that there's consequences. Maybe you're not getting the specs, the correct specs. Maybe you're not getting the correct pricing. So we are also standing firm that we have to hit these deadlines, because we want to be able to proactively procure, and we want to also be able to vet procurements properly. So I hope that's
appreciate that,
helpful.
Shabri. No, it's very helpful. I just want us to all understand that as we, as the board is getting procurements, like we also intimately need to spend time with it. And so by taking a proactive approach of having a timeline for submission for the proper process to run for procurement, to run a proper process for, this comes up more frequently than staff knows around just a meaningful submission of the documents that we need to review as it relates to procurement. And I just think that there should be a meaningful timeline for execution on district side to ensure that the board can do its business with fidelity. Dr. Santelises.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. What it sounds like to me is that we should put together some responses to the requests, at least that I've been listening to this evening. But I do think that as we respond to things like, for example, the timeline, given the vast number of procurements that we process, I would like to prioritize a certain kind of class of procurements, if that's all right, given the volume of what we have coming through. We have less emergency procurements now than we did 5 years ago, but it doesn't mean that we are in the place that we need to be. I think the other, so I'm hearing timeline, and I am also hearing the justification, kind of the proof of impact. And so I think what it sounds like is that the team needs to do some work. We need to do some work in actually identifying what the components are, where there should not be variability, so that we can communicate those out to the board for your feedback with regards to the policy review tonight. So those are two pieces, at least for me, that I'm hearing as themes throughout this discussion from various commissioners, not just you, Madam Vice Chair, but I want to make sure that we're clear before we leave here what those areas are beyond evidence and timeline, so that we can address them very directly. Yeah, so that we're all clear leaving here what that is. That's my purpose now, so that we're just clear and direct about what those pieces are.
Yes, and the only other thing I would add was my first point around purchase orders. There shouldn't be anybody in our system doing business that do not have purchase orders. We've got to figure out what the campaign, what the messaging is, what the professional development is around that. But that absolutely ties in very intimately with this. And I also want to elevate, our procurement team does an amazing job. I love this team. I absolutely do. But this is also something we have to get right if we're going to increase the dollar threshold here. It's a prime opportunity to really fix some areas of opportunity for doing business with our system.
No, agreed, which is why I just wanted to make sure we had clarity as we leave here, so that I'm clear, the team is clear, we know what we're responding to. And I do think that part of what we will do as we work to address these particular areas is also probably identify, as work moving forward, some places where we really do need to go with, frankly, larger vendors. Because the other piece here that, and we can agree to disagree, and I'm okay with that. That's what makes for good policy making. But I do want to resurface something from Josh Sivan. And we know that our procurements are vastly, vastly larger than other school districts, because we do work really hard and have worked really hard to include much larger proportion of Baltimore City smaller based vendors than other school districts across the state. So I think what we should do is work on kind of responding to those three areas of concern and flagging. And also, and I'm saying this because this is something I ask staff to do for me. Whenever I charge them to come back with something, I like to know possible implications that we also need to control for. And I have been acutely aware that on my press, on the team, to make sure that we are including a broader swath of smaller businesses that don't always have the infrastructure, that sometimes it plays into a lot of things, not just the justification and the evidence. And so there may be areas that we need to tighten up in order to make sure that we're prioritizing like a particular threshold. So yeah, so I will also ask the team to add those implications to those areas that that you highlighted and are requesting us to address.
Thank you, Commissioner Salad. Oh, Chair McFadden.
What I'm going to ask to happen, because I am going to move this to third reader, what I'm going to ask to happen is for the Chair of Operations, Policy, and Teaching and Learning to schedule time with this team working on this particular policy between now and our next meeting. So Dr. Judkins, please make sure that we're coordinating in that way to make sure that that happens. as staff is working on responses to the items lifted tonight, we also want to be thought partners because Shabray, Ms. Matthews, there are things that were lifted that we also have not provided to you, particularly in the evidence of effectiveness, and we need to do our due diligence in that way, in partnership with you all, so that we can move this forward at our next meeting. So thank you to—
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you to everyone tonight. Thanks to the team working on this, and thanks to our commissioners. Chief Seven.
Just a point, I mean, that may or may not be helpful, but the regulation changes. We have some more flexibility in terms of making regulation changes and coming back to policy committee subsequently with as items of information. So third reader is fine, and we're happy to do that. But you know, an alternative approach could be to move forward on second reader and then bring updates to the regulations when there's time for us to do the work to implement. But just as a possibility, that would be.
So I'm not interested in moving this that way. I want to move it to the third reader for our next meeting, and hopefully we'll have time between now and then to make any adjustments. If we don't, you all will bring the recommendation back to us to say, hey, let's move it to policy prior to third reader. But I do want to move this to third reader. Thank you for that. We also pulled tonight item 12.01, and that is the Dibble Institute, Commissioner Muhammad. And we do have, yep, folks from the team to lift this up. Commissioner Muhammad.
Thank you, Chairman Fedden. For time's sake, I will just go through one question, and we'll give the opportunity for any other commissioners to tap in. The second question I will submit by writing. But given our shared commitment to the well-being of our students, I really think it's advantageous for us to work with our city agencies where we align. There is a partnership with the health department, which I think is extremely significant for us to have in the work that we do with regards to wholeness. I just want to hear some more information around that partnership. Since this is a 5-year commitment, what does that partnership look like throughout the lifespan of this contract?
All right, yes, I could take that. So first, good evening, Commissioner Muhammad, Board Chair McFadden, school commissioners, Dr. Santalisas, and all others on the call. So my name is Jeff Mealy. I'm the coordinator of Health and Phys Ed in the Office of Teaching and Learning. And so to speak on the partnership, so this project is more commonly known as You Choose, and it's been a part of the fabric of our city since 2014, 2015. And yes, like Commissioner Muhammad mentioned, we just recently entered into another 5-year agreement with the Baltimore City Health Department, along with I think 12 other agencies, Healthy Teen Network, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health is very involved, and several other city agencies. To really, the grant goes to the health department, and we receive a sub award of that. And the charge that the health department has, right, is to reduce unintended teen pregnancy, delay the onset of risky sexual behavior, reduce sexually transmitted infections, and generally provide students with high quality instructional materials that develop knowledge and skills for our young people to make informed decisions. And so we are a major partner in this work because we have the young people. So the main component of the project is to implement these evidence-based programs in our health education classes as they align with our state standards, with our curriculum, in an attempt to reduce those statistics or have a positive impact on those statistics.
Appreciate it. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Commissioner Slater Harrington or Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, if you have anything.
I just jumped on camera, Commissioner, because we had an extensive conversation about this in teaching and learning, really investigating the need for this, getting a context, a historical context on the work of You Choose and the future of it, and making sure that the scope is broad enough to meet the needs of even our younger students. So I just wanted to offer or amplify what Jeffrey has offered today, and say that to give you the confidence that due diligence was done in committee.
I just wanted to say due diligence was done in committee, and I wanted to agree with you on that. The only thing I wanted to add to that is we're limited. There is a limitation on breadth and scope in what it's capable of doing. And the reason why I say that is it's not so much about the capability of the programming, because I even went through looking at or participating in webinar on this to make sure it is a political terrain. And it is very sensitive. The problem, I say, the limitations on breadth and scope is what the public is willing to accept, who's willing to be informed. And I think that just being able to have the seed planted at this point, and I don't want to be accused of quote unquote emotionalism, but I have seen students, I have seen and dealt with students, I have been directly related to students could have used this type of information fed to them, this type of information that could help them avoid some of the pitfalls that they've run into. And so over the years, I've seen that, and I'm a very big supporter of what they're trying to put forward. What I would like to see is a greater scope, a greater reach, but that's going to take a change in public view. But that's basically what I've seen in our teaching and learning committee. I just wanted to throw that out there to maybe help you. Yes, we work with public health. We work with the public health, but the thing is that this is effectiveness in communicating to students on a level where they can understand. Often we communicate to students on a level that's way up here, and they're going, yeah. I teach middle school. And like I've said before, by that time, the cow is out the barn.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bay. Commissioner Muhammad.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, fellow commissioners. Thank you, Chair McFadden, for the opportunity. That's it for me.
Thank you. So with that, is there a motion? Thank you to the team. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9.03?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. We have 2 items for information tonight. One is policy ICA, school calendar. This is the first reader, and that will be followed by the proposed SY 24-25 calendar. I'm almost certain that the same folks will be talking about these. I don't see anyone popping on screen.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good
Hello,
evening, Chair
Dr.
McFadden.
Hello to the team. So just take both of these straight through
Okay,
as you can. Thank you all.
thank you. Appreciate the time. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Pfeiffer. I am the Executive Director of Academics. I'm joined this evening by my colleague, Simon Birnbaum, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Simon Birnbaum, and I am the Director of Grading, Assessment, and Scheduling.
I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up. Our first presentation this evening is on board policy ICA on our school calendar, and I will share this one, and then Director Birnbaum will join me to share the proposed calendar for next year. I'm grateful to have him on board in this role. So this board policy ICA is ties to our priorities 1 and 7 as we think about the use of our time to support instruction during the school year, as well as how we do so in an equitable way. And so this policy related to school calendar is our framework. And so we thought it was important to share this with you first before we get into the proposed academic calendar for next school year. This framework guides how we create our school calendar, the number of days we have, which holidays we have, how we deal with inclement weather days, and how we make adjustments to the calendar or the number of school days if needed. And as I mentioned, and as Commissioner McFadden, Chair McFadden mentioned, our next presentation will be the proposed calendar. So the reason why we're bringing this to you and why this policy is being revised is to ensure that we are aligned with the state law about the number of hours that school needs to be open. We have a board rule, which was a previous way that we captured our guidance that we're incorporating into this policy. We want to be really clear about the different components that make up our school calendar, and we want to highlight the way in which our district recognizes student diversity and is thoughtful about the creation of the calendar, acknowledgement of various celebrations and recognitions, and how we do so, again, in a way that prioritizes equity. So as I referenced, we are incorporating a board rule. This board rule included information about the number of school days that we don't have school on Saturdays and Sundays, that the school day is 6.5 hours. And so we're bringing that into this policy to have it in one place. We also are proposing changes here. All of our policies have a purpose built in, at least those that we've revised recently. So we want to make sure that we have alignment in including a purpose here. We want to be clear about the number of hours that schools are open for attendance in accordance with the law of the state. And we want to make sure that our policies are aligned. So our policies should always kind of be able to speak to each other. And this is part of why we're making adjustments. We also, as I referenced, want to make sure that we talk about the different components of our calendar. One of the things that we can be clear on in our policy is that our calendar includes a spring break and a winter break, and that there are school closures and a variety of different reasons why we might close schools early, ending instruction a little bit earlier during a day, and that often is because of staff professional learning opportunities, time for parents and teachers to have conversations, and other things that may be happening at the school that would result in an early release day. The state has made adjustments to our two laws related to virtual instruction. You know, there's been a space of continuing to think, to be thoughtful about what we want to have in place related to virtual instruction that's taking place at the state level. And as the state makes changes, as they did earlier this year, we want to make sure that our policy reflects those changes so that there's always alignment. I'd also like to highlight that part of what our policy and regulation updates will do is to clarify that when there are opportunities, as we are now considering to have some schools participate in an extended school year pilot with an alternative calendar, when it is approved through academics, the CEO, and certainly our commissioners, is something that we are able to do, and we wanted to be clear about that in our policy and regulation. Also included in our policy and in this policy is the fact that our schools can have a variety of different exercises that they put in place to recognize or celebrate various months or weeks, and that there is that the CEO or designee within staff can lay out what those recognitions may be. We also wanted to provide clear guidance on how we protect students' opportunities to celebrate and recognize various cultural or religious holidays when schools are open. We've had a number of meaningful conversations with students and community members about that, and we have guidance that we thought was important to incorporate in our policy and regulations here. We also wanted to note that when there is summer programming, that City Schools does observe both Juneteenth and Independence Day. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes there can be recognitions or celebrations that we have identified as a district. And here is a list of some of them here. This is not a comprehensive list of everything, but here are a variety of different things that we recognize or celebrate throughout the school year. This does not mean that it's a day off of school, but it does mean that you will see different things on our website and different opportunities for schools to engage in meaningful celebrations of some of these areas. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, but examples of some of them. So we engaged with a number of stakeholders as we worked through the development of this policy. And had some good conversations about, what this policy would mean with a lot of interest, I will note, on the calendar that I'm about to share. And so just want to appreciate the opportunity to share this policy for written feedback and for the few spaces where we were able to share this along with the calendar. And this will return to the board in March for second reader. And I will transition us from here into our calendar proposal for the following school year. Okay. Again, happy to share this proposed calendar with you. I will start off and then Simon will finish up presenting the calendar. So in this presentation, you will see our requirements, the various groups we have engaged, and the ways that we have made some significant changes to the calendar this year, specific recommendations that we've put in place that we want to share with the board and with the public. And then we have our grading windows and reporting windows that we always incorporate as part of our calendar. So for the board priorities, in particular for the calendar, we're definitely thinking through how we engage our stakeholders and do so, create a calendar that will provide access to all the services that we provide as a district, and again, doing so with equity at the forefront in our approach. The calendar ties to all of our district goals and really is the foundation that allows all of these various goals to be pursued in our schools. Here are the requirements. We have both state and local requirements that shape our calendar. We must have a minimum of 180 days or 1,080 school hours. We must be open for a minimum of 4 hours during each school day. The state code requires us to have several holidays, and you see those listed under the pink there. Again, those are days that the state has identified and that we have implemented in our calendar this year. We will talk about religious observances, and Simon will share more about that, which days have been identified. Again, the state has a specific list of days that we need to observe, and we'll talk through what that looks like for students. And then our Baltimore Teachers Union has negotiated requirements in which teachers work no more than 190 days. So that's our minimum of 180 school days plus 10 days of professional learning. We have engaged a number of stakeholders, and just one addition here, I will note that we had the opportunity to meet with our Piazza school leaders and administrators yesterday, but we have had quite a few conversations and working with our teachers union to find some time to connect with them as well. So a few key highlights that I'll share for the calendar this year. We will not have, I should say for the proposed calendar for 24-25, we will not have asynchronous days. Those were days that we had in this year's calendar when teachers would prepare instruction for students. That instruction was not live. Students would do their work at home with the resources that had been provided, and then they would bring those resources back. And we use those days for student learning plan conversations with families. Those are not an option anymore. The state has decided that they do not want to move forward with asynchronous days, and so you will not see those in the proposed calendar for 24-25. What you will see in the calendar is a return to the parent-teacher conference schedule that we had prior to the pandemic. We had a schedule that gave opportunities each quarter for families to connect with teachers in a formal way, recognizing that families certainly do reach out to teachers and schools at many points during the school year. And we do want to look at how we might be able to include virtual opportunities for parents to engage with teachers as well. The last thing that I would like to highlight about the proposed calendar is that we have been intentional about grouping days off. So we have certainly heard that sometimes it can be hard to build momentum when there might be 3 weeks in a row with a day off each week just because of various things happening, like a holiday or professional learning or something like that. And so what we have tried to do is to arrange the calendar in a way that groups the days off. So you might have a Friday off because of professional development, and then that following Monday is a holiday. And the effort there is to, give a break that will give folks some time to be able to plan ahead and know that they have a series of days together. And minimize the experience of kind of start and stop that sometimes happens when the days are spread throughout the year. So at a high level, looking at the dates for next year, we're proposing that staff return on August 19th, which is a Monday, and that school start the following week. Thanksgiving break, you see the Thursday and Friday identified on the 28th and the 29th, with the Wednesday identified as a wellness day for both schools and district. Winter break is proposed to be December 23rd, which is a Monday, through January 1st. Spring break falls April 14th to the 21st. We have our senior graduation dates at the beginning of June. We anticipate June 11th being the end of the school year, unless we have inclement weather recovery days, in which case we will use June 12th, 13th, and 16th to make up those days with the aim of being out before Juneteenth. Again, here are the holidays that that the state has identified and just how they fall. There are some differences and distinctions between schools and district office at some points, but here are the dates so folks can review and begin to plan with some idea of what those dates might look like for the next school year. I will now pass it over to Simon to talk us through religious observance days.
Thank you, Dr. Pfeiffer, and good evening, everyone. City Schools recognizes and honors that City Schools is made up of students and families from a variety of faith backgrounds. And in order to make activities and opportunities as inclusive as possible, we've recognized some holidays from various faith backgrounds as days where we aren't necessarily closing school, but we are setting them aside as days where we're not going to have one-off opportunities for students that they would have to miss if they were participating in their faith opportunities. So these are days where we wouldn't necessarily have assemblies, or we wouldn't have field trips on those days, or we wouldn't have a test being scheduled for that day. And in order to give students who are missing school for those religious observances the opportunity to participate just as other students do as well. There are some examples of something that could happen within a window, for example, like an iReady window, and those windows can still overlap these holidays, but because there's other opportunities within the window for those students to participate. But on these specified holidays and on these specified days, we're asking schools to not hold events that would have to be missed by students as they participate in their culture and their faith. Here's the list of holidays. You can see they are scheduled throughout the school year for the 24-25 school year. Many of the holidays, as you'll see denoted with a red asterisk, are actually start the evening of. So, for example, you can look at the first holiday, Rosh Hashanah, and you can see it starts on the evening of October 2nd and then goes through October 3rd and 4th. So there's the list of dates. We're scheduling 2 wellness days. The day before Thanksgiving is going to extend Thanksgiving break by 1 day, and that'll be for the schools and for district offices. And also putting a wellness day on February 14th. We'll extend the President's Day weekend for schools. This is an example of what Dr. Pfeiffer was talking about in terms of grouping some of those days off. So as opposed to creating, 2 different 3-day weekends in various places, we're adding the Wellness Day to attach to the President's Day weekend to create one longer break to hopefully make it easier for families to plan and for, as Dr. Pfeiffer mentioned, for schools to maintain momentum in teaching and learning. We've scheduled 10 professional development days throughout the year. 5 of those days happen before the school year starts in August. There is October 18th, which is scheduled as the Quest Professional Development Day, and then 4 additional days that are currently district-led professional learning, with one of those, the one in March, being professional development in the morning, and then the afternoon being reserved for parent-teacher conferences. There are 5 early release days scheduled. One of them is October 17th. It will be an early release day. And again, this is an example of some strategic grouping because that October 17th date is right before the Quest Day on the 18th. So that groups, an early release day with a day off of school for students. And then the other 4 early release days happen on the last day of each quarter in October, January, March, and June. And this is time for teachers to make sure that they've completed various school-based tasks, most importantly, making sure that grade books are all settled up and submitted and ready to go, but also opportunities for teachers to complete SLPs and participate in collaboration planning at the end of each quarter. Parent-teacher conferences are going to be scheduled or proposed to be scheduled each quarter with, for quarter 1, a half day on the 17th, and then a window also for after school where schools can schedule parent-teacher conferences sometime within that window. For quarter 2, it will only be after school conferences in December as we near the end of the calendar year and sort of the middle of second quarter there. For quarter 3, again, a half day on March 14th, and then at the after school conference window the following week. And for fourth quarter, again, an after school conference window for late April, early May. Well, we have some plans for virtual learning. The first 3 inclement weather days will be just regular snow days where everyone can go outside and enjoy the snow and maybe hopefully get some sledding in or something. But if inclement weather happens beyond those 3 days throughout the year, starting on the 4th day, we will have synchronous virtual learning days where students will be logging on to participate in at least 4 hours of learning with their teachers. And we have scheduled up to 5 of those synchronous days. We have eliminated asynchronous days from MSDE has taken that option away from us. And so that will not be a part of our school calendar for the coming year. November 5th, school and district offices will be closed for Election Day, an important day for all of us to make sure to get out and vote. Additionally, of course, some of our schools will be used as polling places, and so to make that as convenient as possible for all involved, schools and districts are closed on that day. Here are the dates for the end of the quarters and when progress reports and report cards will be distributed. You can see that each quarter is evenly divided in 45 days. And then we also have the trimester dates here for when progress reports and report cards will be distributed for schools on the trimester system. And again, each of those 3 trimesters is 60 days long. The timeline going forward, of course, is today. We're providing this full board info session. A month from now, we'll have the full board vote, and then if approved, we will send the calendar to MSDE the following month in April.
Thank you, Simon. And I just would love to add that one of the things that our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Dabrowski, has been very intentional about is wanting us to be able to share not only a 24-25 calendar, but to be able to put out a draft 25-26 calendar as well. So upon receiving your feedback and continuing to hear from our various stakeholders about the calendar, our goal will be to take all of that into account and then produce a draft that reflects both the next school year and then the following year after that in draft form to at least give families a sense and staff a sense of what the school year might look like for the 25-26 year.
Thanks to the team. Thank you all for the presentation this evening. I'm going to first check in with Commissioner Lawson to see if Commissioner Lawson has any thoughts. Commissioner Sally, I see your hand, but we'll start with Commissioner Lawson.
Yes, thank you, Chair McFadden. And thank you, Dr. Pfeiffer and your team for your hard work. I know this came through committee. And I'm not sure if I missed it through committee, But the announcement of the asynchronous days being stopped by MSDE, is there any way that we can replace these days? I just know, and this won't affect me because I'm a senior, but I just know these days were helpful this year to me and some of my colleagues. So is there a way that we can replace these days?
It would be helpful to understand a little bit about what was helpful to you, and maybe we can try to work toward that goal of reproducing what was helpful, if you can just talk through that a little bit more.
Sure. I think just being removed from the classroom space, there's always a lot going on in the school day to day. So having a chance to take a break and do some learning at home, it was comfortable. Of course, we like that in-person setting, but having some days where we could work from home was a nice option.
For sharing that. I will take that back, and I think it might be a little bit challenging to reproduce that without with the state moving in a different direction. But I do think we can think about how we provide both that break and the opportunities for learning in that comfortable setting that you referenced. So I appreciate your feedback on that.
Sure, thank you.
And I think it may also align to the wellness days, right? So I think thinking alongside what the commissioner is questioning and asking, as it also relates to the wellness days that have been built in, I'd be interested to see what can come out of that as well. Commissioner Sally?
Yeah, mine is much more of a framing thing. Mine probably should have come at the top of today's presentation, but just to thank you to Ms. Pfeiffer and Mr. Birnbaum for working with us on the policy committee to craft ICA in a way in which helps to reflect the values of all of our stakeholders, and being willing to go broad with our stakeholder engagement on this to make sure that the policy is right. And then the other really exciting thing to see in today's presentation in the second half is what the policy development calendar will look like. So the two in hand go really nicely when you get to see policy development and policy enactment together like hand in hand. So I just want to frame that for my board colleagues in terms of looking at what we're seeing as kind of conforming changes to Maryland law, and then actually our implementation and opportunities for implementation. So this is where the more feedback that we get from our board colleagues as well as the public on what we're proposing and what the staff is proposing for the actual calendar will make for strong policy implementation. So just want to highlight that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Commissioner Esposito, did you have anything to raise as this came through policy committee?
If she's not able to answer, I'm happy to serve as that de facto, since I believe I was acting chair that day.
No, I wanted to make sure she had an opportunity because
okay,
I know
I wasn't sure she was.
you all, chimed in. So thank you, Commissioner Sally. Thank you to the team. Any additional questions from commissioners this evening around our calendar presentations? Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The Operations Committee will meet on Tuesday, February 20th at 10:30 a.m. That will be a virtual meeting. The Policy Committee will meet on Tuesday, that same day, February 20th at 4:00 p.m. The next Executive Board meeting will take place on Tuesday, February 27th at 3:30 p.m. Followed by our Public Board meeting, which will begin at 5:30 p.m. And we're wishing everyone a wonderful Black History Month, a great CTE a celebration month, and tomorrow also happens to be Valentine's Day. So as we are sharing the love and spreading the love with each other. Let's continue to do that as members of our community. It is better to love than it is to hate. And so as we get to a place where we understand each other and we're able to continue to collaborate and work together to move things forward for the sake of our children, for our communities, do that. Do something where you're able to help someone, serve someone, show someone some love, some gratitude, as the world certainly is a much better place when we do that. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Slater Harrington.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Hearing none. We are adjourned at 8:29 p.m. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.